Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro there is calling for peace, but also accusing the U.S. of, quote, fabricating a new war against his country. Tensions on the rise as the U.S. deploys a carrier group to the Atlantic after 10 strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats, most of them off Venezuela. The country's opposition leader, who just won the Nobel Peace Prize, spoke from an undisclosed location this morning with Fox's Maria Bartiromo. Listen.
Everybody knows Maduro is the head of the biggest cartel, drug cartel, Cartel of the Suns, also the head of the Tren de Aragua, a criminal network that has committed crimes in the US, in Canada, up down to Argentina and Chile. It's all run by Maduro.
Let's bring in Manhattan Institute fellow Daniel DiMartino. You know something about Nicolas Maduro and how he operates. You heard him there pleading for peace. What do you think about that?
Well, that's the most aggressive plea for peace I've heard in my life, I'll say. And that's because Maduro doesn't want peace. Maduro has been smuggling cocaine to the U.S. for years, even before him, Chavez. He has destroyed the country. It's why I fled. It's why 9 million Venezuelans have fled. It's the largest peacetime refugee crisis in world history. And now we have an opportunity, thanks to President Trump, to not only stop the drug trafficking, but make Venezuela again the U.S. ally it used to be, and not China, not Russia, and not Iran.
There are questions about whether the boats that the U.S. military has been targeting, whether those are actually drug smuggling boats. Do you have any doubts?
I have zero doubts. First, they were not all boats. There were also drug subs. Believe me, you do not fish in a mini submarine. These are sophisticated drug dealers. The Colombian national that supposedly was a fisherman, alleged by drug trafficking president Gustavo Petro of Colombia, was actually a convicted arms trafficker. And I don't think he reformed himself and became a fisherman in a drug trafficking route.
So Venezuela used to be a very wealthy country. Why did you and so many other people leave?
Yeah, John, look, my family had 2 cars. We had an apartment. I went to a great school, had a great life. My grandparents were all immigrants to Venezuela from Europe. And now Venezuela is extremely poor because of the socialist policies of the regime, which, by the way, they aren't socialist because they're Marxist themselves. It's because they know keeping the population poor and then trafficking drugs is how they stay in power and become wealthy.
President Trump says he's going to go after the narco-terrorists. Obviously, that's the idea on the strikes behind the idea behind the strikes on the boats. Is that going to weaken Maduro's grip on power, do you think?
I think that's a great step, and I absolutely support it. I'll say 80% of Venezuelans, according to a poll that I just saw, support Trump's actions on Venezuela, so he should continue. But we need really much more than that, and that's why I'm very happy about hearing about the CIA operations in Venezuela, about bringing the carrier. We need to do everything possible, and if that means striking inside Venezuela, where Maduro is, who is a cartel leader that the U.S. government doesn't recognize as president, this is the same as fighting ISIS, except that they're actually bringing drugs and terrorism to America directly right now.
Our Fox News military analyst, General Jack Keane, has some observations about what's going on. Listen.
I think the real thing that's happening is to undermine the Maduro regime, to put pressure on that regime. A demonstration of military force is part of that. And they really want the people that are supporting the regime come to the conclusion, is this really worth it? You know, to support Maduro in this kind of activity and this kind of behavior?
So do you think that'll be effective? Are his allies going to be wondering whether it's safe to stay around him?
Only if the prominent people are hurt by this, not just some random drug traffickers. That is good, and that we're going to reduce the revenue of this government. Fewer people are going to go into drug trafficking and bring drugs here. But we do need land strikes in order to take out the leaders of these cartel members. This is the same thing as taking El Chapo Guzman, except that they are much more dangerous because they control an entire country. They have mobilized state resources to bring drugs to America. Even Maduro's nephews were in prison here in New York for cocaine trafficking until Joe Biden released them when he was in office.
Daniel DiMartino, good to talk to you. Thanks.